Good evening and welcome to the June 27th Civil Service Commission meeting. May we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Gazarian?
Here.
Gantis?
Yes, here.
Orion?
Here.
Devine?
Here.
And for the record, Commissioner Manukian
Is just walking in the door.
Good timing, Commissioner Manukian.
5:07.
Okay.
The usual appropriate time.
What's next, please?
Minutes?
Okay, we have two sets of minutes. The first are for May 9th, 2012, and there were only three commissioners here that night, Commissioner Gregorian, Commissioner Gantis, and Commissioner Devine. So do I have a motion from one of those two?
So moved. Second.
Okay, and it's approved by unanimous consent. And for the May 23rd minutes, Commissioner Gregorian was not here, so we need a motion by one of the other commissioners.
Well, Commissioner Gazarian also didn't arrive until item number 5, so I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of May 23, 2012. Okay. And I would suggest that Mr. Manukian second it, since he also was the only one.
Coming from you, absolutely, sir.
Okay.
Second that.
Seconded, and then we have yes votes from Devine, Gantis, and Manukian.
And Gazarian of those items that he was here for.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take some of the items on the agenda out of order tonight. One of the commissioners needs to leave early, and we want to get two items resolved before he has to leave at 6 o'clock. So the next item that we're going to be doing, and again this is with concurrence of my fellow commissioners, the next thing we're going to be doing is the reorganization, which is number 5 on the agenda. We're going to do that next. Once that is completed, we will then go to closed session. We have one closed session item which we need all 5 commissioners here for. At the completion of that, we will go back to open session and go to item number, it's item number 6 on the agenda, the class specifications.
Mr. Chairman, just before we do that, the closed session item will be off of TV. However, we will report out of that closed session item and probably will be on TV since we're going to go back into open session.
That's right. We will be on TV after the closed session. So with that, we will jump into the next item, which is the reorganization of the commission. And the way I'm going to work that is I will ask for nominations for the new chair of the commission, and once we get the nominations, then we'll do a vote. Each commissioner will indicate by name which of the nominees he wishes to select for chair. So with that in mind, I will open it up now for the nomination for the new chair of this commission.
May I be heard?
Yes.
Thank you. I want to thank you, Chair Devine, for your service these past several months that I have been a member of this commission. I want to thank my fellow commissioners, and I have to say that in all of the years and all of the bodies that I have served on, from boards of law school to boards of bar associations, I am truly grateful to have you as a member of this commission, but more importantly as the chair of this commission. And with that in mind, it is my sincere hope that you will accept my nomination to be chair again one more year.
I will, and thank you very much. Are there any other nominations for chair of the commission? Hearing none, we will do a roll call. Second.
Commissioner Manukian? Is there a second?
There's no need for a second.
Yes.
Commissioner Manukian?
Yes.
Commissioner Gantis?
Yes.
Commissioner Gregorian?
Yes.
Commissioner Devine?
Yes.
Commissioner Gazarian?
Yes.
Okay, well, I thank my colleagues, and I hope I can thank you very much for the nomination.
Thank you for accepting.
The next thing in order is the nomination for the new vice chair of the commission. So, Mr. Gantis?
I nominate Commissioner Gazarian as the vice chair.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll have roll call, please.
Commissioner Manukian?
Yes.
Gazarian?
Yes.
Gantis?
Yes.
Gregorian?
Yes.
Devine?
Yes. Congratulations, Mr. Vice Chair. I look forward to working with you. Okay, with that, we were going now to go into a recess into closed session. We will be reporting out, and we will continue the rest of the commission meeting on television at that time. So at this point, I will ask, number one, that the television portion of the meeting be ceased at this point, and number two, that anybody that is not here for what is shown as item number 10, closed session public employee appointment, please leave the chambers, and at the conclusion of that item, we will ask you to come back for the remainder of the meeting.
Might I add
Okay,
on
we're
some
back in
matters
open
relating
session.
to-
We have tabled temporarily the closed session item. We will be returning back into closed session, and at the end of that time, we'll report out on that disposition of that matter. At this point, we're going to continue with our regular agenda item, and we're going to go to item, the new class specifications for approval. And Mr. Doyle, if you could introduce that for us, please.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this item is a new class specification for a new classification that was approved by the City Council on May 29th, 2012. This classification is Deputy Director of Public Works / City Engineer, obviously a management level position. Public Works operation has 6 separate work units, or 6 divisions, a very large and complex operation. They currently do not have a dedicated number 2 assistant department head. All of the 6 section heads or division heads report directly to Mr. Zern. This position will seek to elevate the section head of the engineering section to a deputy director level. The engineering section, typically it's one of the larger sections or divisions within the Public Works Department. It's generally one of the more complex operations, and a lot of the programs that are affiliated with the other 6 sections or divisions within Public Works run through the engineering section. You see the structure where the city engineer is sort of elevated to a deputy director. You see this in a lot of other cities. Typically it's smaller cities, but nonetheless, to some degree, we are becoming a smaller city as far as our staffing levels. And again, Mr. Zern has a large operation to oversee, and this is a position that I think would help him in coordinating all the different functions within the Public Works Department. And as you know, Mr. Zern has taken on another small assignment here at the city. He's currently heading up water and power as well. So this wasn't necessarily planned. This is in the works, but I think now more than ever, this would be an appropriate time for him to have a dedicated number 2 within Public Works operation. So that's sort of the background on this position. The specification is here for your review and approval. Mr. Zern is here today, as well as Mr. Nersessian from my office, who worked with him on putting this specification together. So, Mr. Chair, if you have questions.
Okay. Mr. Manukian.
Yeah, just a quick, when you say engineering, I'm a little bit confused. This is same division we're talking about as Rubik?
That is correct.
Okay, and that falls under the Public Works. Got it. And this position that we are changing would be a new position or no?
Would be a reallocation. Currently, we have a city engineer. It's a standalone, and that individual is one of, again, 6 direct reports to Mr. Zern, and probably will have that continued direct report of these other section heads: administration, fleet, integrated waste, maintenance services, traffic. But a lot of it, again, would flow through the deputy director now. And as I said before, there's a lot of integration between many of these different programs with our engineering department.
Thank you. That's all.
Mr. Gaddis.
Mr. Doyle, were you able to find the
Sorry, I got a call just prior to this meeting.
Okay.
I have it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask this. I note on the org sheet that the Deputy Director of Public Works, the new position, is under engineering. But that engineering is just the city engineer, correct?
It's an entire division of Public Works.
So it's a division, as is traffic and transportation?
No.
Correct.
So it's just one of the 6?
Correct. That's correct.
All right,
Mr. Zern could explain to you the functions of the engineering section.
Mr. Chair, Member Gantis, this is the engineering division. It has not changed. It will not change. The city engineer position has simply been reallocated up to a deputy director / city engineer. Retains all of his responsibilities as city engineer, and he takes on the added responsibility of filling in for me as number 2. in my absence primarily, but also to assist in some of the general administration of the department.
Is there, if we create the position, I assume it's going to be a promotional position?
Yes.
How many people would qualify based on the that we are aware of now, based on the training education that we have set forth in here?
I couldn't tell you offhand. I mean, I think the responsibilities or the requirements mainly center around the education and professional licensing as an engineer, and we have several of those in the organization. So I can't give you an exact number, but Rubik isn't the only, or the city engineer isn't the only individual in the city who possesses a professional engineering license. He does possess the most experience in this particular area, but he is not, as I see the job spec, unless Mr. Doyle sees something I don't think he would be the exclusive individual who could apply for this.
Certainly not. Members of the Commission, 10 years of responsible public works experience within civil engineering, 5 years of which must have included responsibility for planning and directing complex municipal civil engineering projects, and a minimum of 5 years of recent relevant administrative and supervisory experience. We do have various levels of engineer, principal, senior. These are all managerial level positions that do supervise and do have administrative responsibility. So, yeah, the engineering department isn't as large as it once was many years ago, but we do have several people in the senior title, and I don't know if you have a principal
No, we
on
don't.
that end of it. No.
Is there anybody in public works other than in the engineering that would qualify, based on what you see here?
Traffic engineering. There's potentially individuals in traffic engineering who would also apply.
And that would, they would have the requisite, I mean, assuming they have 10 years of experience, but the 5 years of planning and directing complex municipal civil engineering projects would, in your mind, include those projects that came under the aegis of the traffic and transportation?
That would. That's
And
correct.
in 5 years of recent and relevant administrative and supervisory experience managing a large, comprehensive engineering operation would include, I'm just picking one of the, I didn't look at the others, would include that in the traffic and transportation as well?
That is correct.
That would not necessarily include the integrated waste management, though.
There would be no other division within Public Works that would have an individual that would qualify.
Those are my questions. I'm sorry.
About unemployed real estate?
Always welcome him again, always.
No, I would like to make a motion to...
Well, I'm not ready to...
Oh, you're not, I'm sorry.
Just one more question. Would there, now that you're the GWP, the water guru, do we have water people that would qualify under these same, people in that section, I should say? Would that be considered complex municipal civil engineering projects?
There is civil engineering activity over there, but I think there's the 10 years of Public Works experience, although you could say that utility is a Public Works. It's often in the broader sense described as a Public Works. So there are, the water department in GWP is primarily civil engineers who work on similar civil type projects.
So those, in your mind, would be complex municipal civil engineering projects?
Absolutely.
And 5 years of administrative, and assuming they have these, they would qualify administrative and supervisory experience managing a large, comprehensive engineering operation.
As Mr. Doyle had explained, there are principals, seniors, there are assistant general managers.
Associate seniors, sub-associate seniors. We're getting rid of those, though. I can see those going away. And Mr. Gantz is going to be happy once again. Sorry. That's my little pet peeve on those job descriptions.
I'm with you on that.
I'm through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I only have one question, and it's probably a question that everybody knows the answer but me. Under education and training, we have listed bachelor's degree in civil engineering or a related field, and then we have put in master's degree in engineering. Is that any kind of engineering? Any engineering, mechanical, electrical, whatever?
At that point, with the master's degree, we've indicated it's a desirable qualification. So it would be any engineering. Actually, others, as we said, public administration, business administration.
Oh, I see. The master's degree in engineering and everything else that follows is desirable. Okay.
Yes, correct.
But rather the requirement is a bachelor's in civil engineering.
Correct.
And when we say related field, we have a note below that there is no equivalent for registration as a civil engineer with the California State Board of Registration, so then related field really is...
Doesn't apply.
Doesn't apply. Okay. All right.
And we know, as lawyers, we know that's true. There's definitely nobody other than a civil engineer. They stand alone.
Members of the commission, if I could
Okay.
clarify that, no recognized equivalent. Every job specification that you see come before you has the words above that, the note that says an equivalent combination of experience,
Yes.
education, or training may substitute.
May, but not
Occasionally,
must.
we will apply that. If we have, for example, a job that requires 5 years' experience and a bachelor's degree, and we have an individual with 15 years' experience who's 12 units short of a bachelor's degree.
Almost a bachelor's degree.
That
yeah.
we would take into consideration and allow that sort of that sort of consideration. When it comes to a job that requires a PE license, professional engineering license, the point being, we won't allow any substitution for that. That designation, as Chair Devine would probably clarify, is required to sign off on certain plans and perform certain functions within the engineering business. And we can't just say, we'll substitute experience for that.
Okay.
That's more or less what that.
All right.
And Mr. Chair, let me just add on to that. This is the city engineer, so we can call him deputy director, but he is the city engineer, and by charter must be a civil engineer registered in the state, and he is the custodian of engineering records for the city of Glendale.
And we have how many? One?
One. That's charter requirement.
So basically, we really do know that once this position has been ratified, we know who's going to fill that position.
Has to be an engineer.
Well,
We only have one.
Well, we only have one city engineer, but the question of what I was confirming is there is no substitute. I was just confirming what Mr. Doyle said. No substitute on the civil engineering requirement, because beyond just our desire to have it, the charter requires it.
Okay.
So it's still able, another individual with a civil engineering license would still be able to apply if they met the
I
other
see.
qualifications.
Okay.
It's just we can't have any substitute for that.
Thank you.
Okay, I do have some questions. First of all, will this position be filled on a competitive exam basis?
Yeah, Chair Devine, yes. Yes, what we're required to do is post a job bulletin, as is our custom and practice, to post that on a promotional basis for a minimum of 2 weeks.
Do we get to hear that, or was that promotional before? The job bulletin will not
Job
come to us.
bulletins will not come to the commission unless we're taking a promotional position
Going
and
to
making it
open,
open.
that's right.
Or certain bulletins always come before you, executives, safety promotionals, police, fire, those types of things. So it will be posted upon approval by a commission here of this specification. And whoever applies and meets these qualifications will go through the necessary testing.
Okay, I had a question on the org chart. It looks like you've taken what I would call a line operation, i.e. engineer, and put it up in a staff position and renamed it, you kept the same name, engineering, call it deputy director of public works, city engineer. Is that position now going to be a staff position? In other words, the way it's shown here, it's no longer a line position, and nobody reports through it. It's like a staff to the Director of Public Works.
Mr. Chair, that wasn't the intent. The intent is, this is a little awkward because this is not, as you see, when you have a deputy or second in command, oftentimes you run the entire organization up through that person to the department head. That's not what we're doing in Public Works. It's not what we've ever done. So in order to try to distinguish it, we put the chart this way. But essentially, it is still a line item. The individual runs that division on a day-to-day basis, but also assists me and acts in my place when I'm not.
Will any of these other divisions direct report through that deputy?
No.
Okay. My reading of the experience, and I took into consideration the comments made by Mr. Zern, but my reading of the experience really doesn't open it or give a clear picture of it being open to candidates other than the current city engineer. And what I would like to suggest to my colleagues, if they would support me, is that we reword that a little bit so that it's clear that not only the current city engineer is eligible to take this exam, but other people, as Mr. Zern mentioned, in traffic engineering. I was also wondering about the building official, who is also a civil engineer, used to be in public works. Would that position be eligible? And if so, I think the experience needs to be expanded so that we know that that all these other individuals are eligible to take it. What I would like to refer back to, we did a similar thing when they created the Community Development Department, and they brought in several departments under there, and they also created a similar position. It was called the Chief Assistant Deputy of Community Development. And when we got the original job spec on that, it again appeared to limit that position to the existing, I think he was Director of Redevelopment at that time. And what this commission did was ask that the experience be modified, and I'll read what is now said for that position. It says 8 years of comprehensive management level experience in one or more of the following areas. And they listed municipal planning, economic development, building and safety, policy development, community relations, etc. And this is analogous to the other areas that Mr. Zern mentioned that would be eligible, traffic, and I think he mentioned a few other positions. So what I would like to suggest, just so that we make sure we're approving a bulletin that's fair and equal for all possible applicants, that the experience be modified to parallel what we said for the Chief Assistant Deputy of Community Development, but include in there the specific areas or positions that would be eligible to take the exam. And I again ask, would the Director of Building and Safety or the building official be eligible for this, to take this exam?
If he meets those requirements. I mean, I don't mind expanding it, but I'm very concerned that this is 10 years of public works experience. We're talking about a major department, and as much respect as I have for a lot of other folks who work in other disciplines, we can't afford to have somebody come in and learn to be the Deputy Director of Public Works. They need to be the Deputy Director of Public Works. So if they have that 10 years of experience, however, they may now be in another department, like, let's say, water or building and safety. I actually think that based on this description, the building official does look like he would apply, would qualify. You know, the complex municipal civil engineering projects, he doesn't actually manage those type of projects for a municipal operation. He oversees private development in the city. But, you know, I think that we could certainly look at that. But I don't want to open it. That's my concern so much that if they have the 10 years of public works experience and meet all these other requirements, by all means, I would list as many as possible. But I don't want there to be a perception that it's okay if you don't have the 10 years of experience. If you work in traffic engineering, that's a public works operation, has been since for the 25 years I've been here. I know the men in that operation, and I know that at least 3 of them meet this requirement. But if we're now talking about another operation within the city where the individual may be a civil engineer or may have, but hasn't worked in the department, that really isn't going to work for me, because at this level, this is not really a training position other than the potential to come up and become the director.
I agree with you 100%, Mr. Zern, and I certainly believe that the 10 years needs to be in there, and also the 5 years where you mentioned some more of the things. I'm just saying that to a layperson reading this, it appears that it's structured to promote one person in public works, i.e. the existing city engineer. And I just wanted to make it clear so that I know when I approve this bulletin or this class specs that everyone who has the 10 years, even if they haven't worked, may not presently work in public works, would have an opportunity to apply for it. It's called equal opportunity, and that's what I think we're here for. So I
understand, Mr. Chair. What if, as you go across 10 years of responsible public works experience, including professional civil engineering experience, and in there just list the disciplines that are in that civil engineering experience? Can include traffic engineering, building and safety, water engineering.
Or maybe electrical, I don't know, whatever they are, you know that better than I, but that's all I'm asking for.
Would that suffice? If
that would be fine with me. I have to ask my fellow commissioners.
I did agree with you. I must say that I'm leaning more toward Mr. Zern. One of the issues is while it's you got to be able to apply for something you think you're going to get. We're going to keep the city engineer job in there, and I think it's important. I'm with him that it need to be somebody in the public works. I don't have a problem with the traffic, maybe including. I think there's not quite something, some of the disciplines in the public works, but that I'm not so certain the building and safety. Is building and safety in public works?
They were for as long as I was here, up until about
20
3 or 4
years.
years ago.
Okay. Then I don't have a problem with that. But I'd be really circumspect about, I'm with him. And you don't want to give false hope either. I mean, you've got somebody that comes in from water, and you're saying, I really want somebody that understands public works, and that's not what these water people
Well, that's what Mr. Zern pointed that out.
And I'm
covered by the 10 years, and we can put the qualification in there of the 10 years, and if they don't meet that in public works experience, why they're not going to apply.
And I think at the end, you guys were saying the same thing. You guys both agreed to the same point.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my question, is, Mr. Zern, does Chair Devine's suggestion or suggestions to add and make it known that these other public works equivalent disciplines, to use the language that I hear here, if that is added in this experience explanatory paragraph, would that hamper your pursuit in some fashion?
No, Mr. Gazarian, I don't think it would. That's why I mentioned after the statement of civil engineering experience, we just simply elaborate a little bit on that, including traffic engineering, general engineering, building and safety.
Which is exactly what we did with
Then we're in
the
agreement.
other one, and
Okay.
that would satisfy me as far as being equal opportunity.
Okay.
And
Do you need a motion?
Are we writing some language? We need to
Ms.
have.
Garpetian is,
I just wanted to make sure that I had the language that you were proposing so that we could, when we're discussing it, we could discuss the exact language that's going to go in here.
well, the exact language, I think Mr. Zern
Exactly what
stated
Mr.
it very
Zern-
well, that including, he's just including, and I'm going to leave it up to Mr. Zern to come up with the disciplines that
Including building and
We need a
safety.
motion, right?
But you're right.
Traffic
Ms.
and
Garpetian,
transportation.
including
and then vote
professional
on it.
civil engineering or experience. And then after that comma would be such as, if that works, general engineering, traffic engineering, water engineering, building and safety.
I make a motion to exactly what he said.
Second.
May I have roll call, please?
Commissioner
This roll call
Manukian?
for, excuse me, I'm sorry, this roll call for this classification or
As
just
amended.
amended.
As
It's
amended.
amended.
As
So you're
amended.
amending the 3 additional titles over there.
Just elaborating on some like disciplines within civil engineering that could qualify as long as they met all of the other qualifications as well. I think
And to be specific, on page 3, under experience, it would read 10 years of responsible public works experience, including professional civil engineering experience, comma, including general engineering, traffic engineering, water engineering, and building and safety, comma, 5 years of which must have included responsibility for planning and directing complex municipal civil engineering projects, and then the remainder.
That's not my understanding. I thought I heard Mr. Zern use the words such as instead of including again.
Right, I thought such as...
Describe the civil engineering.
Because it already says including, and
Okay. So it'll say civil engineering experience, comma, such as
There you go.
general engineering, et cetera.
That's fine.
That's the motion with the second.
Okay.
You have a motion? Yeah.
Excuse me,
To
I
be
have
clear,
another question. Mr. Zern added something over there which I heard, maybe I'm wrong, city engineer. Did you mention city engineer, or one of this classification over here on this addition?
no, Mr. Gregorian, I just used the term general engineering
Okay.
as a term for where it's general civil engineering. It doesn't have a specialty, so to speak. Structural is the only thing I think we missed. in
Hey,
there.
careful.
Well, we didn't have. I think the building and safety covers the
You
structural.
hit the core of the heart.
I meant it as a compliment.
I move for disapproval of the...
No
Meant it as a
legal,
compliment.
no legal experience.
Are we
Need a
going
vote, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman?
Yeah.
Roll call.
Commissioner Manukian?
Yes.
Gazarian?
Yes.
Gantis?
Yes.
Gregorian?
Yes.
Devine?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have a report back on the closed session. I'll either leave or I'll stay for that.
Well, we'll do it real fast so you can stay for 2
All right, let's go back into closed
We're
session.
going into recess again.
Are we? Aren't we almost done?
We have an
gonna go.
answer.
I'm leaving. It's my anniversary tonight.
We're having a close- Oh, yeah, I know him.
Oh.
Well, yeah, I think he was wearing a brace once I saw.
Busted his knee in soccer. We're on.
Commissioner Roth.
Okay, we're back in open session. We did deliberate on the closed session item, the public employee appointment, and we voted unanimously to deny the request for reinstatement. And now we'll move on to the next item. Mr. Goring, were you going to leave at this point? Okay.
10 minutes, yes.
Okay. So we'll go back to the original agenda.
Oral communications.
I have no cards, and there's no one in the audience, so we'll move on to the next item.
Eligible list established.
Mr. Doyle.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this item represents the eligible lists that have been established since our last Commission meeting, which is approximately 4 weeks ago. We have, looks like, about 6 or 7 new lists. These, let's see, 4 of those are open and 3 are promotional. As you see, the open ones typically have the larger number of applicants. The far right column shows the total number of candidates who made it through the process and made it onto our eligibility list. Have any questions? Try and answer them.
Any questions? See?
I actually have I have a question. The far right column, thank you. Total number on eligible list. So does that mean then we have 8 officers who are bilingual in English and Armenian, and then 10 we have English and Korean? These are 10 qualified prospective officers?
Prospective
Right.
candidates.
So that they're not hired, but if we see the need or the department sees the need, then here's the pool of the
That is correct.
qualified individuals. That's
is
wonderful. Okay, thank you.
And we go down the eligible list 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And we select individuals in the rank order.
Okay. That's great, thank you.
Okay, no further questions. Next item, please.
Agenda forecast.
Mr. Doyle.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, the agenda forecast is before you. We, as of now, our July 11th meeting, it looks fairly light. We are having a hearing date for one of our disciplinary cases, so that will affect 3 of you. Nothing thus far for the open agenda. If something does come up, we'll certainly put that together. If nothing does, then that may be a candidate for cancellation if it's the Commission's desire.
Or if nothing or if something does, but it can be held over to the following meeting, we'd prefer to cancel the meeting.
Yes, sir. I will say the meeting of July the 25th will be substantial. We are anticipate not only this report on the advertising budget expenditures, but we are bringing back probably multiple new specifications. Some new classifications are being added this time that various departments are working on. And we anticipate not only those specifications to come, but also various requests for similar qualification transfers. This is, these are, will be in the new fiscal year at that point. I do anticipate the city manager and several of the department heads to be here, more or less to talk about whatever necessary reorganizations are going to be done within each department. So I would ask that you all be able to be at that meeting. I know it's in vacation time of year, but it will be a rather substantial meeting for us.
Mr. Doyle, Mr. Chair, with your permission, unfortunately, I will be out of the country unless something changes. I would have liked to be at that hearing, obviously, but right now, according to my calendar, I am not here the second half of July and not due to return till the first week of August.
I might be on that same. Just
So
kidding. Okay.
I'm actually really saddened to hear that there's a real working meeting, perhaps a lengthy one, that
Why,
I
this
will not
isn't
be here.
working?
No, a lengthy one, with a lot of issues that obviously are critical to the city in these days, so.
Sure.
I just want to let everybody know.
And Commissioners, I will say the August 8th meeting, it appears Commissioner Manukian will be absent, and I will say HR Director Doyle will be absent that week. I'll be taking a much-needed vacation. So.
And it sounds
Get
like Commissioner
vacations?
Gazera, you're going to be going that week also.
August 8th, I'll be here.
8th.
I'll be here.
Okay.
We'll have a good time.
But we don't have to have a meeting.
Okay.
Well, there you have it.
If Mr. Manukian is not here for the 8th, we might want to cancel also, since
No.
can't have it without
I won't
him.
give him that much credit.
Okay.
Either Ms. Hunanian or Ms. Martin would be very appreciative of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, next item.
Reports and information, past due employee performance evaluations.
Okay, I'll handle this one very quickly. For no past dues, we have city manager, city treasurer, community development, fire, Glendale Water and Power, police, and public works. It appears that there's only 3 second notices, and there's looks like 21 first notices. But overall, I think that all the departments, in view of the budget constraints and the reduction of staff, I think they're all doing very well at this point.
Thank you for...
Okay. Next
And,
item.
Mr. Chair, before we get off reports and information, I do want to call your attention. We left at your place setting here the workforce demographics report. It's not here for any discussion or anything like that, but it is a very, very interesting compilation of the demographics within the City of Glendale organization. There are just every imaginable statistical measure of our organization over time, and the reason it's presented over time is to show the various progress that's been made in essentially making this a more diverse organization. And you can look back to 2001, 2002, and look at today where we're at, and there's been quite a bit of progress made in those areas. It's broken down by citywide, it's broken down by departments, by various managerial levels. It's really
Excellent
great
report.
reading if you have the time. So
Every time you provide it, it's an excellent report, and exactly, we hear a lot of complaints that we have not been making any improvements, and they should pick this up and take a look at it.
Thank you. Next item.
Civil Service Commission under staff comments.
Any comments? Seeing no comments, we'll move on.
Adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.